do you think this is related to the fact that China wants to move to a trading monetary system where the reserve asset is neutral like gold? And yeah, maybe cover that.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Mario. So I think the big plan that China has is that instead of buying U.S. Treasuries, which is debt, U.S. national debt, basically, they want to use physical gold as a collateral for trade amongst the BRICS trading partners or like global South countries. It's going to go ahead, but it will take time. It will probably take a couple years for them to get everything smoothed out running. So I don't agree with, like I said, I don't agree with a July 24th repricing. That's not what is happening.
Global monetary architecture is witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift as sovereign nations seek unencumbered assets to back international settlements. Replacing sovereign debt with tangible commodities marks a historic evolution in cross-border financial engineering. Marioinnecco, an experienced financial commentator, and Eric Yeung, a precious metals researcher, contend that China is systematically orchestrating a gold-backed settlement network across BRICS nations to replace U.S. Treasuries. Market predictions indicate that operationalizing this physical collateral infrastructure will require a multi-year transition rather than an abrupt overnight price reset. Key strategic milestones include constructing offshore vaulting centers in Singapore and Saudi Arabia, alongside establishing Hong Kong as a premier bullion gateway operating under common law standards free from capital controls. In our view, this institutional transformation is crucial for creators and investors to analyze because it signals a permanent migration of monetary power away from fiat debt. By anchoring international commerce in allocated physical metal, Eastern trading hubs are creating an insulated financial ecosystem that diminishes Western paper market dominance over the long term. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to hit that like button, share it with fellow investors who follow gold and silver, and subscribe so you don't miss the next big update.
I think move a lot of the physical gold, or have a bridge between Shanghai, SGE, and Hong Kong in order to turn the Chinese gold market into a hub for the world, because we've been talking about this, Eric, for a while, about Hong Kong, and also the fact that they're building vaults in other countries. I think, is it the SGE? They're building vaults in Singapore, Saudi Arabia, or Riyadh. Do you think this is related to the fact that China wants to move to a trading monetary system where the reserve asset is neutral like gold? And yeah, maybe cover that.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Mario. So I think the big plan that China has is that instead of buying U.S. Treasuries, which is debt, U.S. national debt, basically, they want to use physical gold as a collateral for trade amongst the BRICS trading partners or like global South countries. But in order to do that, they want to, like you said, they want to build these offshore vaults so that the trading partners can store the gold outside of China. Now, China actually tried to have this system working at the Shanghai Free Trade Zone, okay, the FTZ, which has this thing called the Shanghai Gold Exchange International. So it's VAT exempt, basically, like at the SGEI, Shanghai Gold Exchange International. But because even at the free trade zone, they had capital controls, coming in and out. Most foreign countries didn't like to use that channel to trade gold of China. So therefore, I don't know if you noticed, the SGEI had, I'm just going to say this, almost has zero volumes. Okay, in terms of foreign participants at that exchange. Exactly. So they have no liquidity, and no liquidity meaning there are no foreign participants, like few participants at the SGEI. All the volume is at the SGE, like which is domestic within China. So what's this Hong Kong thing? I'm like, now I'm just speculating here, but I think I'm correct. This new Hong Kong Gold Hub is essentially a really beefed up SGEI because Hong Kong is within the international banking community. Hong Kong is offshore to China. Even though Hong Kong is a part of China, as you know, Mario, Hong Kong is a special administrative region that essentially self-governs, and Hong Kong actually still operates under the colonial British common law system. So it works a lot better with China's international trading partners. Hong Kong also doesn't have any capital controls. Like you don't need to have special permission to get your money in and out of Hong Kong. Like, anybody like me, I can take my money in and out of Hong Kong anytime. So that, I think, is why China is, starting this new gold hub in Hong Kong. And by the way, Hong Kong also want to increase its gold holdings from 200 metric tons of gold to 2,000 metric tons of gold. So like under the administration of the HKTMCC, the new entity. Yeah. So they want to do that. I mean, like, I don't know if you noticed, but the Hong Kong government officials, they signed the MOU with Laos recently. Laos. I mean, a lot of people are going to say Laos. Yeah. A lot of people are going to say Laos. That's a small country, it's insignificant. Well, you got to start small. You got to start somewhere. And that's where they're starting. Laos is a fairly important ally to China. So Hong Kong approaching Laos to store its gold at the new Hong Kong Gold Hub, I think it's a good start. I looked at the contents of their I guess the statements to the public of what the MOU is all about. It's pretty generic. So as with a lot of these things that happens in Hong Kong and China, you don't really know what's happening until after the fact. So we need to give this thing a bit of time. Yeah. But like back to the, I just want to look back to the whole, shutting down the leverage at the SGE and all that. So all that liquidity, at least half of it, is going to move to Hong Kong, would solve one of the issues that the SGEI had all this time. Like, remember what I said, SGEI had no liquidity. You need to, have a lot of liquidity in the system first, so that when you open the doors to foreign players, they come in, that marketplace is already bustling with liquidity.
Expanding offshore vaulting infrastructure provides international commerce with necessary liquidity while bypassing restrictive domestic capital controls. Strategic projections forecast that Hong Kong's new bullion hub will aggressively scale physical gold reserves from 200 metric tons up to 2,000 metric tons within 3 years. Early bilateral agreements with regional trading partners represent the foundational steps toward constructing this decentralized vaulting ecosystem. Concurrently, primary domestic exchanges are predicted to ratchet up physical delivery ratios from 70% to 90%. Effectively curtailing speculative derivative leverage. From an independent analytical standpoint, enforcing rigorous physical settlement standards builds a necessary buffer against synthetic paper dilution, as allocated physical bullion contracts replace unbacked futures. International trade participants secure real collateral. Consequently, physical supply dynamics will progressively dictate global pricing benchmarks. Now, let's get back to the interview.
The bullion market. I know in London, the Bank of England supposedly has 5,000 tons, and that's not UK reserve. That's gold that they hold for their clients, which are mainly central banks. But my question is, there has been a lot of speculation that this 24th of July deadline is going to reprice gold because we're going to find the true physical price of gold, but it doesn't seem to me that that's going to be the case. So could you give me your opinion on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's a repricing event. I don't even know why people frame it that way. It's a tectonic shift. Things are changing, but it takes time to materialize. That's my conclusion on the situation. So, I think this physical gold as collateral as international collateral projects in term by China, it's going to go ahead, but it will take time. It will probably take a couple years for them to get everything smoothed out and running. So I don't agree with like I said, I don't agree with a July 24th repricing. I That's not what is happening. It's simply China simply building the pipeline, the foundation and the system such that they can use physical gold as a international trade collateral down the road.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hong Kong wants to get up to 2,000 tons. As I said earlier, Bank of England has 5,000. How much does Shanghai have?
Like the Shanghai, supposedly they deliver, okay, around 1,300 metric tons of gold on an annual basis. They don't, the SGE I'm talking about, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, they don't release their vault figures. So we don't know exactly how much gold they hold, but we do know that they deliver approximately 1,300 metric tons of gold per year.
I see. I see. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just like a tectonic change, and it's going to take a while for us for the markets to realize what's going to happen. But I think it's really important, and it's going to probably accelerate gold buying by foreign central banks, and the fact that China trades and does business with so many other countries. It's going to only accelerate. And I don't know if you saw a few days ago, John Paulson said he still thinks we're in the beginning of a long-term bull market in gold. And one of the main reasons he gave is that foreign central banks and also very wealthy private institutions and individuals, they're shifting towards having gold as a reserve asset, not debt.
I agree with John Paulson, but it's going to be very volatile going forward. That's what I see happening. Just like what's happening in 2026. We gold hit 5,500 and now we're at around 4,000. So there are going to be corrections along the way.
Yeah, and maybe the Chinese authorities want to kind of protect the big banks in the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And you said that you think they want to ratchet up the amount of physical on the SGE from 70 to 90%, that they want to make it a real, almost 100% physical market. I guess that will affect a lot. I think eventually physical prices or prices, even paper prices.
Yeah, that to me, that makes sense because if they, like I said, if they want to use physical gold as a international trade collateral, it will make sense that they keep the SGE primarily physical gold driven. And that's their foundation. That's their cornerstone. And then if you're a speculator, you want to buy paper gold, go to the SHFE, go to the Shanghai Futures Exchange. If you want unallocated gold contracts, go to Hong Kong. So I think it's actually these are all very good developments for gold, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can't really have a collateral asset an asset that's used as collateral would be very volatile. And it's weird, Eric, because back in 1974, just before the U.S. legalized gold again, there's a WikiLeaks document. I've spoken about it several times on this channel that the U.S. Treasury and State Department, they contacted the bullion dealers in London for advice on what to do because on the 1st of January 75 it would become legal again, and they actually recommended that the U.S. have a futures contract for gold, and the reason they gave it is that would keep the general public from wanting physical because they would just speculate on it. So what you're telling me is the opposite now. I think it's just like that was that beginning of the gold futures market. And actually the gold futures GC on COMEX started trading December 31st, 1974. And I guess the first trading day settled on the 1st of January or the 2nd. But yeah, what you're saying, and that has led to like 51 years of market manipulation. You ask a lot of people, not just in the US, but here, and you tell them, oh, you need to buy gold, and they all say, oh no, it's too risky, it's too volatile. So what you're telling me now, it's like the opposite is going to happen in China, and I think that's really good news. It means gold is really on its way back. And just one more question, Eric. So what do you think is going to happen to COMEX and the LBMA?
I make fun of the COMEX and the LBMA a lot, but I think they have the place in the world. At the end of the day, they serve, if anything, Western countries. Western countries need a place to trade their gold and silver. So I think that's going to continue.
A broader macroeconomic outlook indicates that global precious metals markets are navigating the early phases of a prolonged structural bull market. Institutional forecasts project that sovereign central banks and high net worth wealth funds will continuously reallocate capital away from sovereign debt instruments and into physical gold reserves. Detailed market predictions signal elevated price volatility throughout this multi-year secular expansion, characterized by wide trading ranges similar to recent historical cycles where gold surged toward $5,500 before undergoing sharp corrections down near $4,000. From an original editorial perspective, these cyclical pullbacks present strategic re-entry opportunities for long-term wealth preservation rather than signs of structural breakdown. While traditional Western derivative exchanges like COMEX and the LBMA will maintain relevance for short-term speculation, physical price discovery is definitively migrating toward Eastern physical hubs. As central bank accumulation accelerates and paper leverage loses its historic pricing power, physical metal will be revalued to reflect genuine global demand and monetary utility. Re-anchoring global trade to physical supply ensures tangible assets will outperform paper debt obligations over the coming decade. If this gave you value, smash that like button, share it with those paying attention, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay alert, stay prepared, and keep stacking tangible assets.